Hey guys, this is Lucas from Better Coding Academy. I'm bringing back a pair programming session today. This one's a little bit interesting. I'm going to show you how I would do things from the point of view of more of an assessor, more of someone who's looking at a project and just reviewing performance maybe within a tech interview scenario. So I've got one of my students here with me and we are going to be going over a project starting from the very beginning. So do you want to start us off? We're starting off here with a basic index HTML file, completely blank, and what we're going to do today is we're going to do a project completely from scratch using plain vanilla JavaScript. So no libraries, nothing fancy, just to test your JavaScript ability. So this is what we're going to be doing today. We will be building a to-do list. In terms of the to-do list, the styles, it doesn't have to be very impressive. In terms of the functionality, you need to be able to add in items like what you want to do. You need to be able to mark those items as complete. You need to be able to edit those items, and you need to be able to delete. So maybe what we'll first do is we'll first look at adding in items into a to-do list. So do you want to start us off on that and maybe just run me through how you would start doing something like that?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, first of all, I just create HTML file, right? And
Yeah, you can probably just close that thing on the side, hey. This one here. Okay, yep, go on.
yeah. And because we are creating a to-do list,
Yep.
so I maybe create a list here
Okay.
and give it ID, such like to-do list.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. And we also need input to type in. Give a ID in input to do and input.
The input
Like,
tag closes itself, so you don't add a closing tag. You
okay,
just let it
yeah.
flow.
Oh, yes.
So as if I were the interviewer or the assessor, I wouldn't
Uh-huh.
mention that. I would probably just let you continue. But
Okay.
just from the point of view as an instructor, mentor, you don't put the ending input tag.
Okay.
Okay. Yep.
Script.
So what's the script tag here for?
For JavaScript is for we manipulate the DOM and we put function here, right?
Yep. But what are we trying to manipulate right now? Like what's the point of having the script tag there?
Because we put behind the behind every DOM because we need the document ready and the DOM exists there, so we
Yep.
can manipulate the function can make sense, or we just are waiting for the DOM load. Or
Yeah, I know, but like what I'm saying is, what's the purpose of what are you going to put in the script tag? Like, what are you trying to do with the inline script tag here?
yes, we're going to put several function inside. Maybe we can say and list item. Okay, and in this function, if we receive the such like here, we can on key press. We just run this function.
I'm going to stop you there. A couple of things. Number one, if I were the interviewer, what I'd pick up here on what you did is that you didn't adequately explain what you're trying to do. So you put in an HTML document, which is fine. You created a UL, which you explained. You were like, we're doing a to-do, so we're going to put in a UL. We're going to put in the input because we need to add something. And then you just added a script tag. And then I asked you what the script tag is for, and all you said is, this is for JavaScript. Like, I know it's for JavaScript, right? What I was trying to get at is, why are you putting a script tag on your page, right? Because there are two possibilities. You can put it on your page, or you can create it as an external file. Now, why are you choosing to put it inline? And if you are putting it inline, what functionality does this script tag provide? You know, are you putting jQuery in there? Are you trying to create a helper function? Are you trying to initialize and do bindings? What are you trying to do, right? You didn't adequately explain what the script tag was for. You just told me this is for JavaScript. I'm going to put in functions. But like you need to, as from the interviewer's perspective, they're interested to see your thought process. Now, I understood your thought process for the UL. That was great. For the input, I understood that as well. But then when it came to the script tag, you started typing without explaining what you're trying to do. Okay. So you need to explain that more clearly. And in terms of your code, what you're doing right now, I would highly suggest that you don't do this. 2 reasons. Number one, key press isn't technically standard. You're not meant to use on key press. I think ideally, if you want to do like, I don't know, I think you're trying to do like press enter, right? Is like trying to detect the enter event.
Yes.
Then you'd use on key down. And even if you were to use on key down, you wouldn't specify it directly in line. You see, because now if you do something like on key down equals add list item, then all of a sudden, and like, I don't know, like event or whatever, then all of a sudden this becomes tied to that. Whereas your basically your HTML then starts referencing your script tags.
Yeah.
And you have just a whole bunch of functions in your script tag, which don't do anything. But it should be the other way around, where like your script tags enable your HTML to work.
Okay.
You see? Then if you're doing this, then what's the point of having an ID? Right? The whole point is that like you have all of your templates on the page. Like this is kind of like your template, right? Like your imports and ULs and all that. And then when your page loads and you have all of that available in the DOM, then what you do is you hook into those, right? Like the IDs are the hooks. So you hook into the to-do list, you hook into import to-do and all that kind of stuff. You don't do it the other way around, okay?
Okay, yeah.
So I'd probably, like if I were to do this, I'd probably think about like for add list item and all that, I'd probably first think about event handling, right? Because whenever you do something that involves DOM manipulation, like for example, in this case, you're working with event handlers for like pressing enter and adding LIs into your UL, this is DOM manipulation. And the key part of DOM manipulation is event handling.
Okay.
So step number 1 in your JavaScript is to do the event handling. So how about we start from there? Let's just say you created a script tag inline. Show me how you would do event handling for the purposes here.
Okay, I will in this in input text, and I don't know. I just my first idea is that it's just on the key down, and bundle a function here, such like we call it and list item, and we receive an event, and here we create this function and name it to.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is like you're binding it the wrong way.
Yeah,
you can do this in React, right? Because in React it's different because in React your template's much more closely tied to your HTML. But what you're doing here is if someone were to look at your JavaScript, it would make no sense because you have an add list item function that is not being used within your JavaScript.
Okay.
You see what I mean? Like you have everything here on one page, which is fine. But in most cases, if this were to be a little bit bigger, it wouldn't be on the same page. Right?
Okay.
Most likely you wouldn't have that available.
Yeah, so I create an external.
No, you can. And I mean, that's fine. I probably would have gone external, which is fine. But what I'm saying is you're binding it the wrong way. You're meant to select import to do, and you're meant to add an event listener to that. Because the way you're binding it is you're doing on key down on the input like this, but you're meant to do it the other way. Have you ever used this before?
Yeah, get ID, yeah, but I will do a. Oh, you just say any event listener. Okay.
Imagine, let's separate this out now, okay? So you've got index.html, and let's just say we created a file called this one main.js or whatever.
Yes.
Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that screw the script tag, it's gone, okay? And we put it inside of this file here. Now, forget we had this line as well. If I go into here and I do, let's just go here. What was it called? function add list item. Okay.
Yeah.
How do I know where this is being used?
All right. So it should bundle with event handler.
Now, you see what I mean? Like, it's not clear if and where this is being used. It could be used anywhere, but from what I can see, it's not being used anywhere at all, right? You're assuming that this is a global function and that your HTML can access it, but that's the wrong assumption to make, right?
Okay.
Like, okay, so now you have a main.js and you connect it into this page and
Yeah.
it works. What if tomorrow I decide to change the name of this function or change the way it works so that we don't have one function called add list item? We have two functions which somehow take part of the functionality each. Then how many index.html files would you have to change? Right? Because you're binding it the wrong way. You're binding your JavaScript to your HTML. Your HTML is like the source of truth here. It's the king. But instead, it should be that the JavaScript is the source of truth. So if you have, say, for example, add list item here, and I'll fix the spelling. If you had something like this, right? You should do document get element by the input to do add event listener key down.
Okay.
Add list item. So you see what happens now is it's pretty clear, okay? So add list item is being used by something with an ID of input to do.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in your previous example, if this weren't here, then it's like, what's using this? Is nothing using it? Can I just remove it? All of those questions are unclear, right? And also, like, if you were to use something like, say, parcel or webpack or whatever, if you were to use something like that, then what would happen is this function would probably, even though it's now in the global scope, when you do like webpack on it or you parcel it, it suddenly isn't in the global scope anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because then it gets wrapped into a function or whatever. So then what happens is you can't access it and you can't do this within HTML. So either way, all I'm saying is you should specify the event listeners specifically within your JavaScript. Okay?
All right. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So let's forget about this. Never ever do this. Like, just don't do it. In terms of this file, okay, that's better. So explain to me what the purpose of the meta tags here is. Why did you choose to keep in these meta tags?
What's the... Okay. The
So
meta
lines
type
4 to 9. Like, why do you choose to keep those inside of your code?
4 to 9. Okay. The first one is how they decode the I don't how they decode this file.
Yep.
Because they use UTF-8.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one is this is the viewpoint is for the it's sometimes it's for the print, or sometimes it's used for the display on the devices.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
this is the specify this kind of thing. And to the second,
My point here is I can ask you right now as the interviewer.
Okay.
So this one here, specifically what it's for, is even if you explain it correctly, you're like, this one here is so that it appears at a similar scaling on the mobile devices. Okay, so mobile support. And then my first question to you is, why are you adding mobile support? Are you planning to support mobile devices? And then the whole question becomes, as you are developing your app, how are you showing me that you're using mobile support?
All right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're causing yourself problems. Like, you're including this, you're including that, you're including this, you're causing yourself problems, right? You should only include specifically what you need. If you go above and beyond in any way, you have to explain it. Like this line here, this line says it basically triggers the latest rendering engine on Internet Explorer, right? So this allows us to capture that information. But then the question becomes, the interviewer will instantly ask, or they might ask, are you planning to support Internet Explorer? How are you going to do that? Can you show that within the time frame? Chances are you can't, okay? And the reason is because you're not given very long to do it. I mean, you might be given 30 minutes, 1 hour, sitting down pair programming. You don't have the time to do this kind of stuff, okay?
Yeah.
So when you create the document from the very beginning, just go, bam, gone, right?
Okay.
Just get rid of it. If the interviewer asks you why you get rid of it, you can just say like if you know what this is, and you probably should, at least, memorize it or know about it.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh yeah, this stuff here. So the way I would do it is if I were being interviewed, I'd say, yeah, so the first line is for internationalization support. But at this stage here, we're only really looking at English. So that's an assumption I'm making for this project. So the assumption is that we're only using English ASCII characters and we don't need to support UTF-8.
All right.
Bam, right? And then for this one is for specifically supporting mobile devices and allowing it to render. But at this stage, we're not, because of the time constraints that are set in place by the coding interview or by the pair programming session, I don't have the time to implement that. So I'm going to get rid of it, right? So this one specifically for IE. Generally, my approach for IE is that I don't specifically design for it unless it is a necessary requirement, or there is obvious evidence that a decent percentage of our user base is IE, or we should support it. And also, given the time constraints, I've decided to remove it.
All right.
See? Okay. So now that you don't have those lines, they can't ask you questions on those lines, and they can't trip you up.
Oh yes.
So language equals English. That's fine. You should have that, right? That's accessibility. It tells you the language of the page, and you're like, well, my page is in English. This is fine, right? For the title, usually a good idea to change it. If you leave it, like this is what I'm saying, right? They pick up on things about sloppiness really quickly, right? They want to see that you actually care about your code. If you leave things behind, you're kind of misspelling words, putting lowercase where there should be capital, all that kind of stuff. They see that as sloppiness. I see that as sloppiness, and you don't want to come off as sloppy.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So for example, this one here, when you start off, just name it to-do list, right? And you can be like, I'm just going to call it to-do list for now. We can change it later. That's fine. But if you just leave it as document, you can choose to leave it as document if you explain yourself. Like, we'll probably pick a better name later on. But it's just generally good that everything that you do or everything that you don't do, you need to explain. Or you at least need to be prepared to explain, okay? So in this case, I think something like this won't cause you too many problems. So we just have UL and input for now. Here's a question that might come up. Say, for example, in this case here. Why did you choose to put in a UL and an input?
Okay, because UL is a list, and we just create a to-do list. So we need a place to a padding li tag into somewhere. So we need to create a UL. And the input is the source come from. So we need to type in. So we just got what we type in. So this is the things we need.
What about anything else? Like, why did you not choose to include, for example, a button, for example, a form? What's your rationale for that?
Yeah, if we choose, yes, we can add a button, and we also can bundle the on-click and write the events, and then handle everything. But it's an option. But the inputs, if we handle the on key down, so it's enough for me to handle all of the inputs. So. And if we use a form is something like you generate a post HTTP request, so it's not suitable for here. So it's
okay. So let me just reflect on what you said there. You said something about a button on click, all of that. Like you can do it, but you're choosing not to. For the form, technically it is right to use a form, because whenever you have an input, you generally want to have like a form around it, even if you're not submitting it to another page. Because technically your page should work without JavaScript enabled, right? Like technically, like assuming we had a perfect website and we could design for everything, then the solution is that if we had an input tag and we pressed enter, or like we submitted and we tried to add it, then we could do it with JavaScript if JavaScript was enabled. But if JavaScript was not enabled, then we could use old school HTTP get or post or whatever, and we could still carry out the actions, right? That is the so like for example on Google, like assuming you go to Google now and you disable JavaScript, you could still search. The search wouldn't be as great, but you could still press enter and it will manually refresh it and it will do the whole search thing, right? So the kind of the idea here is that you want to, whenever they ask you, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? the general best reply in the case of a coding like one-on-one session is to just simply say, this is the bare minimum I need to implement the functionality. Like, they're like, okay, so why didn't you use a table for the to-do list? Why didn't you use a div or whatever? The general answer is just, we're trying to, obviously I understand that those are possible options, but this is a timed pair programming session or a timed coding interview. So in this case, I've chosen to go with a minimalist approach specifically in order to meet time constraints. Okay. So then that instantly answers, why didn't you use a form? Why didn't you use a button? Why didn't, any of those kinds of questions? It's like, yes, I understand that I can, and I understand that is better, but in the interest of time, I've chosen not to.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Now let's continue. Enough talking. Can you continue building out the app, please? Show me how you do it.
Yes. In this function, I go into because we need an event here. I just need to catch the user press the key, enter key, and I capture it, and that means we need to take action. And now we just need to get all the content in the input button. Input and get input, get everything in the input, and then we need the value inside. And then we just go in, and we also need to fetch. We also need to get the element of the list content. That is the UL.
Yep.
And we just make everything ready. What's the name? To-do list. And then we just ending appending a children. Okay, we create another one, something like list item, and this is how we create create a inner HTML what's the function name? It's we just use
document.create element.
Yeah, not create element. We just type in some HTML string, and it can be converted to.
Yeah, it's probably not the best idea. Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Oh no, I just forgot the function name, but I just type in some thing like but I just forgot the name. Can I search it? Inner. I forgot.
Inner HTML?
Yeah, inner HTML, but it's a. But I don't know if that function is input a string, and it can convert to a HTML element.
Well, if you need to search, you can feel free to search. Like, you can search during the interview. Just don't search. Try not to search simple things, and also try not to search anything that is like that takes too long. Like if you're going to do a quick search, it's probably not a problem.
Okay.
But make sure you can show that you're efficient even when you're searching. Is that one there? Convert HTML string to DOM element.
Where is it? DOM element.
Down.
Oh, okay, yeah, maybe something like that.
I think you're talking about .inner HTML.
What's that? Sorry.
I think you're talking about inner HTML, like this.
Yeah. Yes.
Or is it this one? Because I don't think there's a clean way. I've never ever heard of there being a clean way to do that.
Really? Wow. Okay, I quit. I just
Yeah, you don't want to do this during an interview. During an
yeah.
interview, you generally want to just stick with what you're comfortable with. If you have to search something up, chances are you're probably going out of your comfort zone, which might not be a good idea. Yeah.
And we just put the value inside the children element,
Okay.
and then now we are going to appending these children into list container. Is that what? Let's try. It's not working. Nothing. What's that? Oh, what?
Can you see why?
No. No, I don't know why.
Where are you including this file?
Oh, yes. Gosh. Mm. Okay. It's anything but the value is not goes. And there is some problems with value.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Mm.
So show me how you would, in this situation, if you come across a code error that you can't fix,
Mm-hmm.
show me how, or not that you can't fix, but you come across an error in your solution. Show me how you would debug the problem. So, and explain it to me.
Okay, I'm going to first of all, I just double checked. I actually have I actually got the value and something like this. And yeah, the value is here because
Okay.
yeah, it's here. And there is maybe I got a value already. Maybe this is a problem with this or this line 10 or line 11.
Okay.
Yeah. So I going to check is this
Why can't it
is
be
this
a problem with line 6, for example?
line 6? Okay, it's maybe
Like, I'm asking you, like, as
yeah.
assume
I
I'm
know,
someone
I
who
know.
doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
Why can't it? Why did you jump straight to line 9 and 10? Like, why can't the problem be in line 6, line
Because the
7?
possibility of getting an element by ID would not the arrows if you just type this the ID is correct,
Mm-hmm.
it's always work. The possibility of this line get arrow is
Mm.
maybe the possibility is much smaller
Mm.
than line.
So the
Yeah.
actual reason is because for this section of code here, if document.getElementById, if it can't find the to-do list, it will return null.
Oh
So then
yes.
list contain will be null. And if you try to
Yeah.
run append child of null, then you'll get an
Yeah.
error. It will say cannot run property method append child of null. Okay?
Oh yes.
So it'll give you an
Yeah.
error. Secondly, you're getting an li.
Yes. Yes.
So that's the other
Exactly.
reason.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so it's important to, I guess, understand how exactly that works here. But go on. Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe there is some problems with the create a new element,
Yep.
or maybe you haven't put the value in. Yeah, you already create a correct the children element because there is a dot on the screen.
Yep.
Yeah, so that element is there. The problem is that the element haven't got the values you fetched from the input.
Yep. Okay.
So yeah, so the line 10 is a problem.
Makes sense.
So
Well, can you fix it
yes,
then?
yeah, I just check. Uh, okay, it's not the value because they do not have value.
Okay. See if that works.
Yeah.
But yeah, so generally you don't want to use inner HTML because
Yes,
then you can do stuff like even like this is bad, right? Like
yes, yes, yeah.
so
It's a
ideally
plain text.
it's okay. So let's go over your code now. Number one thing is probably you need to spend a lot of time working on your understanding of HTML, like
Yeah.
DOM manipulation, because your DOM manipulation abilities are pretty weak. Okay.
Yes.
So what we need to do is like let's just go through like your what the issues you've shown today, and I'm going to show you how you can improve them. Okay. So
Yeah.
the number one issue was with on key down. So specifically, just don't do that. The other way
Yes.
around. Okay. So always do bindings like this. Add event listener. Reference it like that. Okay, and then do add list item. That's fine. In terms of key code, before pretty simple mistake. Using lowercase for the C.
Oh yes.
It's pretty much always like key and then code like camel case.
Chemical.
Yeah, but you're also firstly the double equals is bad. Never ever ever use double equals ever.
Okay.
Always triple equals.
Yeah.
And you're not
type.
meant to use
Yeah.
keycode anymore. So keycode is out of date. If you go to keycode MVN and you have a look, it is deprecated. So you're not meant to use this anymore. Okay.
Dispatch.
What you're meant to use instead is you're meant to do event.key. And like the only way you can ever know this is through experience and practice. Okay. So this is definitely an area you need to spend more time on, but you write it like that.
Okay.
Okay. So this will, let's have a look now, make sure it still does the same thing. Does the same thing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of your code inside of here, this is, this part here is bad. Okay. There are two reasons it's bad. Well, I guess one reason it's bad is that you're doing, every time you do document get element by ID, it's computationally expensive, so to speak. You know, you can't just do that on the page every time, you know? It definitely can add up. Obviously, for a to-do list, the effects are negligible, but it can become quite a big deal, okay? So what we always do for things like this.
Oh, yes. Make it, yeah.
Okay.
Just affect once.
Exactly. So you always do it at the very top for things that are going to be present on the page, right? And the naming here is really bad. Like list contain means nothing. Here's my suggestion. If it's hard to come up with a name for these kinds of things, you've already got a decent name inside of your IDs. Just use that same name, but use camel case, obviously. So this one here becomes to-do list. Like that, right? So you kind of have the mirrored of the name, so you don't have to think much about it, okay? And then for the value, what I would suggest here is, firstly, one thing you forgot as well is event.prevent default. In this case, it didn't affect anything because pressing enter on an input field doesn't do anything. But assuming you had a form around it, assuming that it was a text area or whatever, this could cause problems, okay? So you need to make sure that you do event.prevent default. And then, so for the value, I mean, yeah, like you can do like const value equals input to do.value. It's a little bit, you know, especially if you're only using it, like, firstly, the name kind of is bad. The reason it's bad is because the value is like an attribute of the element, right? But it doesn't explain the data. It doesn't explain what's going on here. What it actually is it's the to-do, or it's the to-do description, okay?
All right,
There's a big difference here because if you say like value, you're saying it's a generic value. But if it's the to-do, now you're giving it meaning, you know? It's that extra level of meaning. It's like, for example, you know, you can say that your car is just a car, or it's just an object, or it's just steel, or it's a physical thing, you know? But each word is true, but it adds different levels of meaning. So what you want to do is you want to figure out the right meaning that you've got here, right? Like you might even call this one like to-do text, because to-do could potentially be an object type thing. You know, I'm just saying, like, if I were thinking, this is my thought process, is I'd probably call it to-do text or something like that. As for list contain, we obviously don't need this anymore because we have this bit up here. List item, this is fine. You really can't do much about that. Inner text is the one to use for changing text. If you, you generally just don't want to use inner HTML, especially with user input. So, like, if the user can type into it or, like, affect its value, generally not a good idea, okay? Inner text is a lot safer. This is fine. Okay. So then instead of list contain, we'd use to-do list. And then instead of value, we'd do to-do text like that. Okay. So now you'll notice that like that. Okay. So it works fine. That's what I'd probably say about the code.
One question. Why should we put the event prevent default to between the line 4 and the line 5?
Go move it up there right now. So press okay, save and try. And you'll see why. Do you refresh?
Okay.
Can you type?
I can't type. Yeah. Okay.
Yep, because key down is now prevented. So you only want, that's when you only want to prevent enter. Okay.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Makes sense. Yes.
Any other questions on the code?
No.
Okay. So I guess to wrap up this video, a few general notes on your performance. So there's a lot of things that we need to work on in terms of, like, there are a lot of things you need to work on in terms of your coding ability with regards to front-end JavaScript.
Yes.
The only real way to do that is to do projects, to build things using front-end vanilla JavaScript. So this is a good exercise, this type of stuff.
Yes.
But the other thing as well is, on a different note, is I felt like if I were your interviewer, I feel like you were really nervous. There was a lot of stuttering. There was a lot of, just generally not very confident on what you were doing, basically, right? So my suggestion for that is to like, I mean, it's easier said than done, right? But like, you need to be able to stay confident in the interview and show that, like, even if you're struggling with the problem, that you're still able to work through it, right? Because you need to understand that when you go into a company, there are going to be times when you don't understand things. Right?
Yes.
That's totally fine. Like, the whole idea of a company is they want you to improve in the company, to understand the company. And the only way you can understand them is, since you don't know them yet, or like what they do to a full extent, is there are going to be times when you don't understand things.
Yes.
So what they want to see is, they don't want to see the, like, okay, he knows everything. They want to see, how does this person adapt to learning new things over time?
All right.
Or like, if they don't know something, what is their approach for research? If they don't know something, what is their approach for figuring it out? If they're unsure about things, what is their approach and what is their reasoning behind their logic? That's what they want to see, So it's important in interviews, and I know this is much, much easier said than done. It's very, very important to stay calm and stay collected.
All right.
So like, imagine you were coding by yourself at home, no pressure, no work, anything. If you can take that level of coding confidence to your workplace and showcase that in front of your boss, your employer, the interviewer, whatever, you 100% will do much, much better.
All right.
It's about the confidence, right? It's about it's being okay to not know things, being okay with wanting to improve, being okay with generally just needing to get better, and being willing to accept the fact that it's a process. Okay.
All right.
All right, cool. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'll finish it up now. In terms of what we've got here today, obviously it's not a lot of code, but I think we made good progress in terms of like ideas, dealing with pair programming and dealing with these kinds of coding interviews. Guys, thank you so much for tuning along. I hope you have enjoyed this pair programming session, and I'll look into what we do for interview preparation here at Better Coding Academy. This has been Lucas from Better Coding Academy, and see you guys later.